I'm Josh from the All American Spook Show, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you know that we're not doing the normal Deadline Horror News live that we do every Wednesday night right here on the YouTube channel at 9 p.m. East. What we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you a couple of clips that we usually put over on Patreon. Every Tuesday we have our Patreon video minisodes, and the main segment there is called The Library of the Professor, where Professor Smoke himself will take something from his vast library of VHS tapes, DVDs, books, CEDs, laser discs, whatever he's got, and he'll choose an item and he'll talk about it. So we've chosen a couple clips for you here. The first one aired back in September 28th, 2021. So this was basically as we were entering the Halloween season last year, and you'll see what he pulls for that one. That's kind of your normal, what you would see every Tuesday kind of thing. And then every once in a while, he will go on location. And just a few weeks ago, back on April 12th, 2022, he went down to Orlando, Florida at Universal Studios. So he did a cool little segment there. So normally you would have to be a patron over at patreon.com/AASpookShow to see these. But since we're not doing the normal live show, I figured this will be a good chance for you to sample just a little taste of what you get over on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/AASpookShow. You'll get these videos just like these every Tuesday. Plus, you get bonus episodes. Like we have Crapster Piece Theater, which that poll is live now over on Twitter, on all of our socials, even over on Patreon. You don't even have to be a patron to vote on that one. That's there now. And you also get Spook Show Rewind episodes. You get Professor's written reviews, Professor's retro review written articles. Those are over on Patreon. Tons of other cool stuff. And you also get early access to podcast episodes because, the podcast, All American Spook Show podcast, comes out every Monday at 6 p.m. East. But if you're a patron, I think it's at least at the $5 level, you get them early. So lots of perks to becoming a patron of the show over on patreon.com/AASpookShow. And like I said, I'll toss it over to Smoke so you can see these segments that we normally do every Tuesday. And thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll be back to the regular scheduled program next week for Deadline Horror News.
And now it's time for a curated selection from the Library of the Professor.
Welcome. All right, let's see what we got today. This, as I mentioned before, this mask right up here is going to be a clue to a movie that was going to be upcoming on the library, and this is the day for that movie. It is 1984 Halloween slasher splatter flick, perfect for the upcoming month that we'll be going into shortly. It's Rocktober Blood. Yes.
It sounds just unfortunate that there was never like a heavy metal album, before or since, I guess, just straight up called Rocktober Blood.
Yeah.
It just sounds like either a fake metal album or a real metal album, one or the other.
Yeah, it definitely should have been something, or a tour even, just a tour called Rocktober Blood that came out, in the month of October. But now this one is put out by, of course, you'll recognize this if I can get my lighting good on it. Good old Vestron Video. Kind of hard to get my camera. Doesn't want to focus very well because it's got crappy autofocus on it. But it's a Vestron Video VHS release. So this also has a... Won't go into all this here. We'll do this. We'll get to this movie on the podcast for sure sometime down the road, maybe next Halloween or the Halloween after. We'll go take a deep dive on it. But I was going to say they tried to produce a second Rocktober Blood here a few years back, and won't go down that rabbit hole here. But suffice to say that this took a long time to get put on DVD and Blu-ray. This is the VHS. It was kind of sought after for a while. Went for some decent prices or whatever online. And then the makers put out a DVD that they tried to fundraise money to put out a sequel. And but we'll go into that later once we get this on the show. So at any rate, this mask right here that is on the cover and that the killer wears and the band member and the heavy metal band in the movie wears is this mask right here. This is the actual screen. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
The actual screen mask. This is a mask by this company called Be Something Studios. It was just a Halloween mask they put out with a batch of their Halloween masks in 1977. And then each year after that, well, not each year, a number of years after that, they kept putting this Fang face mask out with variations that would have different paint scheme. In fact, this paint scheme is the green one, the one that's used in the movie, and you can't really tell on the cover, really. Kind of can tell. The one on the cover is the exact same design as this one, but it's brown. So a darker brown. This is the green variant.
It looks white.
It does it. It's probably
no, I'm just saying it looks white on the VHS cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is because this VHS cover is a little bit of sun fading going on it. But yeah, now they put out a different one of these masks every so many years apart or whatever, where they would, sometimes it would have bigger teeth or a bigger snout sticking out, or just some variation of it. But Fang face has kind of become a cult icon, I guess, throughout the years for Halloween fans, fans of Halloween masks. And just I remember seeing this when it was on the shelf in probably Kmart or whatever, and wanting my parents to buy it for me back in like the late 70s, early 80s. It never happened, of course, back then. But
no, you demented child.
What's that?
I said, no, you can't have it, you demented child.
I'm not gonna put this in the house.
Yeah.
This is it was used in Halloween haunted houses a lot in the 70s and 80s too. They would, it was a typical mask. You could, like I said, buy it in I don't know if they had Party Cities back then. Whatever Halloween stores they had, mainly you would just buy it in department stores, I guess, Kmart or whatever. They were just on the regular shelves, and so it got used in many different, I guess, variations of it, and also different artwork variations of this. For one, heavy metal band Helloween used this design for their Creature on the Walls of Jericho album.
Yeah, and we have it up on the screen right there.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's the same design. That's the Fang face design. It's the art. I don't have the artist name that that did this cover for Halloween, but they obviously used this Fang face as the design for the mask. Well, he's not really a mask on the cover; it's supposed to be a creature, but
no doubt that is extremely similar, if not dead on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And later on, another band with some members from Helloween called Gamma Ray also used it as their mascot. This same design for this mask. So, and that's not the only places, but like I said, once we get into this movie on the show on some future episode, we'll take an even deeper dive into the history of this movie and the history of this mask. But at any rate, yeah, this is probably, I don't know, some people would call this the first heavy metal horror movie. Others put The Phantom of the Paradise as the first heavy metal horror movie. The Phantom of the Paradise came out in 1974. I don't know if you could really necessarily call the music in it metal, proto metal maybe or whatever, but if you don't consider that the first heavy metal movie, then this would be the first heavy metal horror movie. It's a slasher film. The band in the movie, well, the band that did the soundtrack to the movie is called Sorcery, 80s metal band that probably not a whole lot of people outside of the 80s at the time the band came out are huge fans of 80s heavy metal bands will know Sorcery. But they're not like Iron Maiden or something, like a name that most people would know. But they did the soundtrack for it. It is a fun flick. It's got a decent amount of splatter, and if you were to compare it, like somebody says heavy metal horror and Halloween, the first movie people think of is Trick or Treat, which we did on the show, whichever episode that was. I don't have it off the top of my head right now.
It was last summer.
Yeah, last summer.
Not last summer. God, last
Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah. That was when we had Larry Sprinkle on as the guest when we asked him about, because he was he had a bit part in it. But I just looked back, and that was episode number 42.
42, yeah. That's probably the first movie that people think of when they think of heavy metal Halloween horror movies. And this one actually has more gore than Trick or Treat, because as we talked about on that episode, and as Larry mentioned, it was high tech horror. That's what Trick or Treat had. What the director explained it as. He wasn't going for gore. This one does kind of go for the gore because it's a straight up slasher movie set. It's not necessarily technically a Halloween movie. It's Rocktober Blood is the name of the movie, but not even really set around Halloween. But it does have a Halloween masked killer, so. And a lot of people do watch this as a Halloween horror movie, and I do. It's sort of a tradition here in my household. So that's Rocktober Blood, and if you've never seen it before, I don't know where you can go see it. I'm sure you can find it out there, though.
If you want to
find the VHS.
Good luck.
Yeah, because that DVD Blu-ray thing I mentioned was a limited thing that, like I said, the filmmakers of the original movie were trying to fundraise for a sequel that never happened, I don't believe. And then the long story that, like I said, that we won't go down right now, is that there was a limited time release and they put those DVDs out there, and I have no idea how much those DVDs are going for now, if they are going for a lot of money or what. But yeah, you can find it. You can find this movie, and I definitely recommend it. It's a Vestron film, so maybe they'll get put out on that Vestron DVD Blu-ray label. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be
So
awesome.
hopefully we'll see that. Yeah. But I think we should maybe do this. I'm sure we will. Hopefully maybe we'll get to it next Halloween. No promises, but some point down the road, we'll definitely be doing this one show.
Did you want to leave a gore score and a star rating for it, or you just want to leave it off the table until the next?
Yeah, just in case we don't get to it. Now I may amend it later because I haven't seen this since, I don't think we watched it last Halloween. It might have been the Halloween before. But I'll give you my review that I would, rating rather for it, and gore score for now. And if we watch it on the show, it might be amended later. But Trick or Treat, as if you've seen that episode, I gave it a 4-star rating. I love that movie. That's as all of us do. It's a classic. I watched that movie I don't know how many times. For October Blood, I've seen it quite a few times, but nowhere near as many times as Trick or Treat. I still hold it up there, though, way up there for the Halloween heavy metal horror movies. I would give it a 3, and I'll go with 3 3/4 stars. And for the gore score, I guess I'll go with a 7 for right now. Like I said, we'll rewatch it later. I might amend both of those ratings a little bit. So, but for now, 3 3/4 stars for the movie and 7 for the gore score. So that's October Blood, 1984.
Come back next time for another curated selection from the Library of the Professor. And now it's time for a curated selection from the Library of the Professor.
Welcome to another shocking edition of the Library of the Professor, here on location in sunny Orlando, Florida, and I'm at Universal Studios, as you saw, at the Monsters Cafe. And join me as we go inside. We'll take a little tour of the cafe. So we're starting out in the space dining section of the Classic Monsters Cafe. And in here, you get a lot of items from, of course, classic sci-fi movies. This one being the Metaluna Mutant from This Island Earth. In fact, This Island Earth is probably the prime focus of this room. There's another poster of the Metaluna Mutant from This Island Earth. Over here on this wall, we have this awesome little display of laser blasters. And here's some memorabilia from the movie Tarantula. Once again, another Metaluna Mutant from This Island Earth. And another full-size one sheet from the movie Tarantula. And up on the roof, spiders. And that wraps up the space dining area, so we'll go to a different area now. And in here we have the mansion dining, which is primarily Dracula. Poster for House of Dracula. House of Dracula being the one where John Carradine played Dracula. Excellent portrait of Bela Lugosi as Dracula by Basil Gogo. So here's the main entrance to the Monsters Cafe, where you walk in. It's basically like Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory. It's where you walk up and order your food. And off to the sides, to the corners, they have these awesome busts. This one, of course, is the creature from the Black Lagoon. And these busts were all designed and sculpted by none other than Tom Savini. This is a sculpture of Karloff as the Mummy, again by Tom Savini. And here we have Swamp Dining, which of course is going to be Creature from the Black Lagoon. Another excellent painting from Basil Gogol of the creature. Poster for the sequel, The Creature Walks Among Us. So this is another section of the swamp dining. And in here is, of course, the Wolfman. So we covered the Wolfman on episode 61 of the podcast. And of course, episode 61, the Wolfman, is the one where we all got together and recorded it in Spook Show Studios. So I'm going to wrap up this special episode of Library of the Professor in the back room here at Monsters Cafe, which I believe is still part of the mansion dining.
Come back next time for another curated selection from the Library of the Professor.